Hello, everyone. Just a reminder, this will be recorded so that we can send out afterwards. Just give one more minute for some people to trickle in, and we'll get started right away. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can honor your time. Welcome to MCE's Future Proof Your Property with Energy Upgrades Workshop for multifamily property owners and tenants, and developers, rather. My name is Tyler Brown, and I'm a Community Development Manager with MCE, your local utility company. We are excited to have you join us and learn more about incentives and services to help you reach your upgrade goals. Go to the next slide, please. Before we begin, let's review the cadence for this workshop. We welcome any questions that you may have about any content covered today. Please utilize the chat box throughout the presentation. One of our moderators in the chat box will answer questions that you may have. The presentation is being recorded. We will send an email to participants with the slide deck, recording of the presentation, and transcript of all questions and answers. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. If I can get a thumbs up from some of my panelists, if you can hear me okay. Thank you. Next slide. MCE would like to thank all of our partners for helping make this webinar possible. Next slide. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Tanya, can we, I'm gonna give you a slide, send you the slide deck. Give me 1 second. In a second, some of our slides are out of order. Thank you for your patience. I'm just gonna reshare our screen.
In the meantime, if the attendees want to share in the chat anything that they're hoping to get out of this workshop, that would be helpful as well. Or any questions that you might have come with, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so next slide. Let's see if we're on the same page now. Yeah, this is perfect. All right, so as a reminder, MCE is your local utility provider for Marin, Solano, Contra Costa, and Napa counties. Our mission is to confront the climate crisis by eliminating fossil fuel greenhouse gas emissions, producing renewable energy, and creating equitable community benefits. Money from our electric generation charges are reinvested in our community programs and services like the ones we'll cover today. Next slide. As a reminder, the California Independent System Operator has issued a Flex Alert as of the day of this recording, Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Please use less energy from 4 to 9 p.m. to avoid a preventable power outage. Next slide. So our presenters today are Brett Wiley, Senior Customer Programs Manager at MCE, Margie McDonald, Program Manager for the Solar on Multifamily Housing Program, and Gloria Retta, Mealcar Car Share General Manager, who is partnering on the City of Richmond's Car Share Program. Today, we will discuss various incentives and services that MCE and our partner organizations offer to multifamily customers that help you future-proof your property with energy upgrades. Next slide. You may be wondering, what does it mean to future-proof your property with energy upgrades? There are 3 areas of energy upgrades that can improve the quality of your property and reduce energy expenses. These are energy efficiency and water upgrades such as lighting, insulation, water heaters and shower heads, electrification upgrades such as EV charging stations and electric stoves, and clean and renewable energy such as solar or any of our light green or deep green options at MCE. Today, we will cover programs that embed technical assistance that take the guesswork out of which upgrades work best for your property, and rebates and incentives that help you save significantly on hardware and installation costs. These programs make it cost-effective and efficient to improve your buildings and improve the health and overall quality of life for your tenants. Next slide, please. Why is it important to future-proof your property? California is moving fast towards clean and renewable energy, energy efficiency, and electric infrastructure adoption. This year, 20% of new vehicles purchased in California were electric vehicles. And by 2035, California will only sell zero-emission vehicles. State and local governments have followed electrification legislation, passing building reach codes requiring all electric building infrastructure for new construction. This means that in the very near future, integrating upgrades such as clean energy, energy efficiency, and electrification will no longer be an amenity, but a necessity to ensure your property is future-proof. With energy upgrades being a trend that we see continuing into the near future, we encourage early adoption while money and technical expertise is widely available. Next slide. Our goals align with your own. We believe that everyone deserves access to affordable and quality housing and thriving, healthy communities, and that is achieved through energy-efficient measures that improve air quality and reduce energy costs. According to the Green Lighting Institute, prolonged exposure to combustion byproducts can have serious long-term health impacts such as asthma, decreased lung function, and respiratory illness in children and older populations. Electric appliances and other energy-efficient measures drastically reduce these health impacts and liabilities to properties. In addition to safer and healthier indoor air, new all-electric appliances are also more energy efficient, which increases energy savings and reduces energy bills for both tenants and property managers. This includes big savings in common areas such as swimming pools, gyms, and laundry facilities where you may see increased energy costs. MCE offers, next slide please. MCE offers various energy savings and energy management benefits for multifamily property owners that combine rebates, free coaching, and technical assistance, and free to no cost upgrades to help you save money and make your properties more comfortable and energy efficient. We provide from $1,000 to $2,200 in rebates for in-unit and common area upgrades. For some measures, we can directly install. We also provide free energy management coaching to strategize how your whole property can save on energy and reduce costs. In addition, we provide technical assistance and rebates to install EV charging stations. Our program manager, Brett Wiley, will discuss in detail the rebates that we have available for EV charging later in this presentation. Next slide, please. As a best practice, see which incentives are available before you make an upgrade. Our in-unit and common area rebate programs provide multifamily owners with rebates up to $2,200 per unit, as well as free comprehensive assessments and consultations for energy and water saving measures. Our rebate programs are flexible and allow participants their choice of contractor, measure selection, and make rebates payments directly to the property owner or contractor. If you are ever interested in any upgrades that we have available, please feel free to contact us at info@mcecleanenergy.org. Next slide. Now that we've covered what future-proof property energy upgrades are and why they are important, we'd like to know if you've ever done any energy efficiency, solar, or electrification projects. In a few seconds, a poll will pop up asking if you've ever done any of these projects. Please answer yes or no. All right. Just 2 more seconds. All right. Can we share that so we can just get an idea of that poll of who's in the room and what we've done here? So we have some people in the room who can kind of help us also understand what does it take to install these projects. As stated earlier in the presentation, EVs have become mainstream, with 20% of all new vehicle sales in 2002 being electric, and with 1.2 million and growing EV drivers in California. EV adoption is something to pay close attention to as a property developer and owner. Joining us next is Gloria Berta with the City of Richmond's EV car share program, MealCar. She will share how EVs are being introduced to communities in Contra Costa County so that we can get a glimpse into the very near future of EV adoption right in your backyard.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about MealCar, electric vehicle car share program funded through the City of Richmond through Charge Up Contra Costa. And if you go to the next slide, I could give a little more information on how we started. MealCar is a nonprofit that was incorporated in 2019, and we are focused on hiring local staff, a local coordinator and fleet staff. At the end of this presentation, I am going to drop in a link for a current position we're actually hiring for in Richmond. And so we do handle all of our customer service in-house, and we provide customer service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with our bilingual team. This is currently the team. If you go to the next slide, please. So there's 2 ways in which you can sign up to become a MealCar member. The first way is by downloading the MealCar Networks app, which is available on the Google Store as well as the Apple Store. So if you download the app, fill out the application, that's one way to sign up. If you do not have access to a smartphone, we can also assist you with signing up. You can contact our customer support line, or you could log in to the MealCar website and select sign in and create an account online. And then we would issue you an RFID card that would work to lock and unlock the vehicle when you have a trip. Next slide, please. MealCar is affordable and easy to use. Our current rates are $4 an hour, $35 for the day, and what's included in that is 150 miles. Anything over 150 miles is 35 cents a mile. We initially have a one-time $20 membership processing fee, but because we are just doing soft launching in Richmond, we're actually waiving that to anyone that signs up between now and our big launch event next month. So what's also included in this rate is insurance, maintenance, and roadside assistance. Next slide, please. We currently have Chevy Bolts available in our fleet in Richmond, and they have a driving range of anywhere between 180 to 240 miles of range before you have to charge the vehicle again. Next slide, please. So this is a meal card registration process. The eligibility requirements is that all members currently have to be 21 or over, and you must have a valid driver's license. We do accept AB 60 license for undocumented people. And you also need to have a valid debit, credit, or prepaid card. So if you meet these requirements, you would then download the Meal Card Networks app. Next slide, please. And to create your account, you'll need a driver's license, payment method, email, and cell phone. Next slide. Once your application is complete, the turnaround time normally is 1 to 3 business days for your motor vehicle record to get processed. And regardless if you get approved or you're denied, you'll receive an email from us. If you're approved, you would have to complete a 15 to 20 minute orientation, which could be done via phone, video call, or in person. We want to make sure that all of our members feel comfortable accessing an electric vehicle and feel safe with the range anxiety. So for us, it's very critical that we do orientations with our members. It also helps us to get to know our members a little more. So once you complete the orientation, we activate your account, and all of our members initially get 5 free hours of driving credit for free. Next slide, please. These are some of the most important member guidelines. This is car sharing, so it's important that you charge the vehicle when you are ending your trip, when you return it to its home site, because somebody else might be using it after you. We do have CDC recommended cleaning supplies in all of our vehicles, so we encourage our members to wipe the vehicle once they're done with their trip. And we also have a fleet associate that physically checks the vehicles at least once a week and makes sure that they are cleaned from the interior and exterior. Unfortunately, we do not provide car seats, so our members are required to bring their own car seats. And we also encourage all of our members to inspect the vehicle before you take a trip and document anything, any damages or issues that you might have prior to taking the trip. Next slide, please. These are the current Richmond locations where MealCart is available. So we have the Civic Center Plaza, the Richmond Public Library, the Bayview Branch, and 41st and McDonald. There will be additional sites coming online. And we currently have 5 vehicles throughout the 3 locations. And our big launch event is on September 28th, which is part of Richmond's National Drive Electric Week. If you are planning on coming to the event, I would highly recommend that you scan this QR code and sign up to attend the event. It would give us all a better overview of how many people we should expect. And we're also going to have different raffles at the event. Next slide, please. Well, thank you for having me. If you have any questions, you can contact me, gloria@mealcard.org, or you can visit our website. I will be putting in the link to the position that we're currently hiring for, just in case you are interested or you know someone else that might be interested in applying for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria, for that awesome presentation and a glimpse into the future of the near future. We're in the future of electric vehicles. We have another poll for you to answer. In a few seconds, please respond to this poll question. What is your standard return on investment expectation when deciding to move forward with an upgrade? Less than a year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, or other? Awesome. I'll give a couple more seconds to answer that question. All right. Awesome. So we have those results. And I know that we have some questions in the chat for Gloria. We're going to have time for Q&A at the end, but we also have some moderators that can answer those questions for you. So we will take inventory of those questions and at the end be able to give you some answers. In terms of the QR code, this slide deck will be sent to you after this recording, so you'll have access to the QR code as well. So we understand that timing is everything when it comes to upgrading your property. This is why our holistic programs embed technical assistance that help you plan your project so it is done in a timely manner with the expertise of professionals. Brett Wiley, our program manager for our EV charger rebate program, will discuss how our technical assistance and rebates can help you save on cost and time. Thank you, Brett.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. And as Tyler mentioned at the start, so far in 2022, 20% of all new car sales in California have been electric, and that's only going to increase. That doesn't include any trucks or vans or not too many SUV electric vehicles on the road. Those are being rolled out currently, and as those orders are filled later this year and into next. So you can just imagine with trucks and being the largest share of the car market, the vehicle market, that's only going to increase in the coming years. So, Tom mentioned in the chat, can MioCar install EVs at sites that don't have EV charging? And this is where MCE's program works collaboratively with partners like MioCar, where if charging is desired and then you would want to install like a car share at that site, we can provide you the service to identify where it would be great to add charging at your property, as well as provide some technical assistance, such as electricians and electrical engineers, and then incentives to reduce and buy down the cost of those chargers and the installation. So MC's EV charging program has been around for 4 years. I'm Brett Wiley. I manage all of our electric transportation initiatives at MCE. And to date, we have helped our customers install over 900 EV charging ports, and with an additional 600 EV charging ports currently under planning or construction. Next slide. So I'm going to provide some initial benefits of the program. Our rebates could cover up to 90% of the total cost of installation. Our rebates are on a per port installed basis. They're not on a percentage of cost basis. But if you have a property in a designated zip code in Contra Costa County or Napa County, based on available incentives, you could be in a really good position to reduce your total upfront cost of the project. MC's program also offers technical assistance. This is really helpful for properties that you might not have or may not want to use the resources you have for your facilities team to do kind of the scoping of this work. The technical assistance includes a site assessment, a load study, an EV planning report, helping you understand which qualified vendors might be better suited for you, as well as provide you some ongoing Q&A and support throughout this process. The customer still needs to manage the project, but the technical assistance is available to sort of help you along. We also provide, again, layered incentives, not just with partners like MioCar on car sharing, but we have a lot of other layered incentives in our program. For example, we have a free education program for residents, tenants of multifamily properties to help them not just know about EVs, but also get access to the available incentives. For income qualified tenants and residents of California, you could be eligible for on average $13,750. And so if you're an affordable manager of an affordable multifamily housing property, don't believe that just because EVs appear to be a luxury item, There are a lot of EVs without incentives that are under $30,000, and even many more under $40,000. But with incentives, it drives down the cost significantly. So don't believe just because you're serving low income, moderate income individuals that they won't have access, because there are a lot of incentives, including rebates from MCE, the state of California, and the federal government to really help drive down those costs and make EVs accessible to everyone. Next slide. So what does this look like? I mentioned the incentives are on a per port basis. So there's a difference between levels of charging for those that might not be familiar. Level 1 charging is essentially plugging into a 120 volt outlet. It provides roughly 3 to 5 miles of range for every hour that a car is plugged in, which is more than sufficient for the average Bay Area commuter. Average Bay Area commuter does around 30 miles round trip daily. So for someone plugging in overnight, level 1 charging port is really sufficient. But a lot of people enjoy the convenience and confidence of a level 2 charging port. These provide about 20 miles of range for every hour the car is plugged in. This is hooked up to a 240 volt outlet. Both of the level 1 and level 2 ports have in our program are called networked. And so a network port means that as a property manager, you'll be able to recover the costs that the user has in charging the vehicle. So, the individual is going to, for example, pay for the electricity that they're using, even if these charging ports are connected to a common meter. We've heard that was very important, so we wanted to make sure network charging is available. And also network charging can help you as a property manager participate in other programs like demand response, which can offer incentives when you throttle charging. For example, when we have a flex alert, these network chargers can respond to signals that throttle or reduce charging during certain hours to reduce demand on the grid. So there are a lot of other layered programs, and we wanted to make sure we were incentivizing the technology that allowed for participation in those programs. Now, there is a third type of charging that is not in our program, but there is funding out there for it. It's not really relevant for multifamily properties, given the high cost of install, and that's called DC fast charging, or level 3. And that level of charging gets a vehicle to about 80% of the battery charged within 20 to 30 minutes. You probably have seen these on roadsides or retail outlets. Really, the use case for multifamily property charging is level 1 or level 2, or a mixture. And our incentives are on a per port installed basis. So again, all the incentives are listed here, and we'll follow up in an email with those. But I really want to sort of call out maybe property managers that have sites in Contra Costa County and in Napa. MC is working with the state of California and the Contra Costa Transportation Authority on Charge Up Contra Costa. And so for level 2 ports that are installed in certain zip codes in Contra Costa County, you could get up to $5,500 per port installed for level 2. Even more, if you're in Napa, that's through a state of California program, not managed by MCE, but a lot of the incentives that are out there still stack and combine with MCE's base incentive to significantly drive down those upfront project costs. And next slide. To give you an example of the average project cost, we found that the average cost per port, for example, level 2, is about $6,500 per port installed. That's total cost. Hardware, install, signage and striping, etc. So if you stack all of the incentives together, you can see what your project cost would be post savings. And so, with level 1, might be around $1,000. For level 2, about $3,000 without any additional incentives outside of MCE. And then for those that are in that have properties in eligible zip codes in Contra Costa County, for a level 2 port installed, your average remaining project cost would be about $1,000. Now that's average. There's definitely spots where we've seen our incentive more than cover the costs, other spots where that could be higher. But again, that's what you're expecting. And for your property and for taking advantage of this now, you're really getting ahead of, again, where the market is and is going in terms of EV adoption, but also making sure you're getting incentives that exist today as well as the technical assistance. Next slide. And again, here's a sample project. So in our program, you have to have a minimum number of level 2 ports of 2, maximum of 20 per site. So each site would be a property or address. For level 1, it's 4 to 40 ports. And again, you can mix those. So if you had a larger property and you wanted to really maximize the charging at your property, you certainly can hit the maximum 40 level 1 ports, 20 level 2 ports at each site. But as you can see here, if you're looking at the average cost for the minimum level 2 port project, which would be 2 ports installed, for example, this dual port station right here, your post installation costs out of pocket would be $2,000, taking advantage of all other incentives that are available, including opting up to MCE's Deep Green service. So as Tyler said, MCE is your local not-for-profit electricity provider. We provide renewable electricity that is reliable, affordable, and renewable. And we have 2 basic services. Our 60% renewable service is light green. That's the default service that you might have unless you have or plan to opt up to our 100% renewable service, which is deep green. And that's only 1 cent per kilowatt hour more. And MC's customer care team can definitely do a cost and a climate assessment of opting up if you are curious. And there are incentives to do so. Like, for example, in our EV charging program, you get an additional $500 per port for level 2, an additional $125 per port for level 1. Next slide. And so, yeah, here's the rebate timeline. To take advantage of our program, your first step is really to have a call, a conversation with someone on our team. If you're sort of a traditional multifamily property manager owner, that would be Tyler. If you're part of an HOA, then that would be my colleague Owen. But you can also reach out to us at info@ if you're curious. And you can also, we'll drop in the chat, if someone could drop in the chat the link to our EV charging page. You can sign up directly on that page and we'll contact you directly. So the first step is having a brief conversation with us to see if you're eligible and what your use case would be, and what other layered services you might want to take advantage of through this program, so we can make sure you're maximizing the opportunity. And then if you're approved in the program, we reserve your rebate. And if you're wanting to take advantage of the technical assistance, immediately after approving your rebate, you get introduced to our technical assistance provider, and they will schedule a site assessment with you to then move forward in reviewing your property, checking out your panel, doing a load study, and also understanding your tenants' needs. Once your planning report is done and you have kind of a list of maybe a slimmed down list of the qualified vendors, MCE has about 15 qualified hardware and software vendors in our program. We encourage you to get at least 3 bids. MCE does not qualify installers. We leave that up to the property to find an installer. Although we do really want to make sure that, especially for our Contra Costa County bonus incentives and the NAPA incentives from the state of California, you do need an EV infrastructure training program certified electrician on the install team. We can talk more about that when we have our intro call, but it's a lot of electricians or a lot of contractors out there do have those, and we can definitely refer you to some. Once you've selected your vendor, and your project is completed, you'll just fill out an easy 2-page PDF form and attach your paid invoices and other supporting documents. And within 30 days, far less, usually we try to get that out within 7 to 10 business days. You'll either get your check in the mail or we can do electronic deposit. So that's the timeline. There's essentially 4 basic steps. And in general, the average EV charging project that we've seen over the past 4 years roughly takes about 8 to 12 months from the time they have that call with us and are approved in the program to when they finish their install. Some of that timeline is simply sort of getting your ducks in the row, trying to get the proper sign-offs. The technical assistance takes about a month from when you talk to them to when the planning report is done. And then sometimes permitting can take a while. So just generally bucket about 8 to 12 months for the average install time. Next slide. Yeah, and so yeah, you can, we're gonna, I think Owen already dropped the link. If you wanna check out the website there's an interest form right on the link. You can also direct any questions to info at, that should be mcecleanenergy.org. And yeah, feel free to drop any questions in the chat too, and maybe we can answer them right now. I see one question, where are the eligible zip codes? If you go on that website, mcecleanenergy.org/EV-charging, if you scroll down that webpage under FAQs, you can click to see additional incentives, and that will show you the zip codes that are eligible under our Charge Up Contra Costa bonus incentive. Can the ports be any type of parking? Oh, that is, must one space be for handicap parking? Good question. And my computer's running low on battery, so I'm gonna stop my video so I can plug in, but I can still answer your question. So yeah, it really depends. This is where our technical assistance provider comes in. They provide guidance and support on making sure your property is ADA compliant. And so, you know, I don't want to step on their toes. And because it is very property dependent, don't want to give too much wrong don't want to give any wrong information. Better to say you don't know, and I'll check in later. So it really depends on your property. Generally, if your property is not open to the public, for example, the spots where you're installing the chargers, if they are assigned or deeded spots, then they don't need to follow ADA because they're designated to an individual person. But if you do put the charging ports in a publicly available spot, say they're kind of at your office, like the leasing office, for example, then they might need to be amended for ADA compliance. It really depends on the current ADA spots you have on your property, et cetera, and so forth. We really do recommend, if the site assessment says so, to put the charging ports at the publicly or sort of non-assigned spots, so the charging is more ubiquitous and accessible. But the program does allow for the charging to be located at assigned or deeded spots, so long as people with EVs can be assigned to park there. We don't want to put, for example, let's say your project is 10 level 2 ports. We really want to make sure, though, that those 10 level 2 ports are available to the people with EVs and that fossil fuel vehicles aren't at those locations. It's a stranded asset. I'm guessing you probably don't want that to happen either. So we do have a requirement in our program, though, that let's say you put them in spots 1 through 10, but apartments, 15 through 25 have EVs. You just have to make sure that you reassign those people with EVs to those spots to put the charging in those locations. Okay, Ruth had a question. Average cost for electric vehicle is $60,000. Well, so average cost for current electric vehicles, there are more EVs on the market now that are luxury than what's coming on the market. So a good example is like the Rivian truck. Those are Rivian and Ford F-150 Lightning are the first trucks on the market. The Rivian is closer to $70,000, but the Ford F-150 Lightning is $40,000. Another good example is Chevy Bolt. The MSRP on that is $26,500. Kia Niro is under $35,000. So yes, there are very expensive EVs on the market, and there are some really great affordable EVs that are on the market. We're definitely, our program is reducing the cost for participants, and we have a lot of great stories to tell from that. You can check out that site that Owen dropped there too about the eligible and affordable EVs that are available. And like I said, and in the next year to 2 years, there are a lot of affordable EVs coming on the market, and most automakers have committed to having at least 50% of their models and vehicle sales being electric by 2030. Some of them have committed to 100% electric models. Again, these projects that you're going to be building for EV charging, these are going to take about 8 to 12 months. So you have to think about what's coming, as well as the 20% of vehicles being sold in California this year that are already electric. So whether you're serving affordable or market rate, EVs are going to be ubiquitous. And we want to make sure that we're helping you invest in the infrastructure to bring those residents there and ensure that they have an equitable experience. Equity is a cornerstone of our programs. If you live in a single family home, it's incredibly easy to charge your vehicle. Most people have a 120 or 240 volt outlet in their garage or driveway. That's not the case in multifamily. And we know it's difficult. A lot of existing properties have a hard time with electrical capacity. And that's why our EV charging program focuses on workplace and multifamily charging. We know that single family properties, there's not a lot of investment needed there. And that's why we're investing in multifamily. All right. I think that's all for me. Tom had a question here. Will your TA cover the cost of power studies? Yes. So the technical assistance is all inclusive of everything I mentioned: site assessment, review of ADA, load studies, all of that bundled into a planning report that kind of looks at scenario planning of where EVs might go here or here. You want to do level 1, level 2, a mix. And then again, ongoing Q&A. If you run through a question at permitting, should also mention part of the technical assistance will provide you single line drawings, which will then allow you to get really fast tracked into permitting for your EV charging projects. Incentives, yeah. So another question from Tom: do incentives cover the cost of transient panel modifications? Yeah. So our incentives cover any of the upfront costs associated with these projects. So it wouldn't cover what it would not. Again, I would encourage you all to go to the FAQs on the EV charging program page, because we get into a lot of those nuances. But essentially what our incentives do not cover are ongoing costs, like networking or transaction fees, electricity costs post-installation. Yeah. And I think I'll just leave it there. We have more presenters, and if there are any questions about EV charging, I'll just jump into the chat. So thanks for your time, and hope to see some of those interest forms come in, and we can help you start those conversations about charging at your property.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett, for sharing those stackable rebates that are available to property owners to make their electrification projects a reality. So the final E of future-proof energy upgrades is clean and renewable energy. If you're an MCE customer, congratulations, you've begun your journey to future-proof your property. Our next speaker, Margie McDonald, will share how you can leverage rebates to adopt solar at your multifamily property. Take it away, Margie.
Great, thanks so much. Good morning, everybody. As mentioned earlier, my name is Margie McDonald, and I'm a program manager with the Solar on Multifamily Affordable Housing, or SOMA program. And apologies, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues with the work from home situation. So I'm gonna just be as audio today with those issues. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit, as Tyler mentioned, and I'll be giving an overview of the SOMA program, including property eligibility, our current funding levels right now, incentive rates and how to get started with an application. Next slide, please. So SOMA is the largest solar incentive program, not only in California, but across the nation. And SOMA is a California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, funded incentive program that really aims to significantly offset the cost of installing solar PV on multifamily housing throughout the state of California. The program is really designed to help close the gap between who has access to and who benefits from solar, as it's traditionally unavailable to low-income households, especially with renters. Enrollment in SOMA provides both affordable housing developers and their residents access to monthly energy bill savings. And on average, what we've seen with projects so far is that residents are saving anywhere from $40 to $50 per month on their energy bills, which is awesome. The program was launched back in 2019 and will remain available until 2030, with a goal of installing 300 megawatts of generating capacity in total. We do also have a large focus on ensuring that communities truly benefit from this program. And this is done through an emphasis on tenant benefits and tenant education, which is a requirement of the program, as well as paid job training opportunities. We also have an advisory council and work with community-based organizations. I believe we're working with 7 or 8 at the moment throughout California, and that really helps to ensure that community benefits are being maximized. So going into property eligibility a little bit here. So to be eligible for SOMA, a project must meet all of the following requirements. Be an existing property with at least 5 units, be deed restricted low income residential housing with at least 10 years remaining on the affordability term, be located in PG&E, SCE, SDG&E, Liberty, or Pacific Core utility territories, or be a CCA customer like NCE here today. Have individually metered units where tenants are responsible for their electricity bills. And lastly, we have either a place-based or income-based requirement. So meeting either or of these two, and that is be located in a disadvantaged community as defined by CalEnviroscreen. And I've linked this, this mapping tool on the slide here. This tool essentially identifies the most pollution burdened census tracts in the state. And so you're able to just type in a property address into that mapping tool and be able to search for a property. And then, yes, either have that DAC requirement or have 80% of property residents having an income at or below 60% of the area median income, or AMI. So SOMA offers incentives to properties that are located in these investor-owned utility or IOU territories, or CCAs in these territories as well. So this is a breakdown of the available funding in each territory. And these numbers are as of Monday, so pretty up to date. But since that is changing information, just as new applications get submitted, I have linked our the website where our budget lives, and you can see how much is remaining in each territory. But as you can see here, we do have over 406 million available in incentives and are currently accepting new applications across all territories. So it is a great time to submit an application with us and reserve those funds, get them locked in. So now moving on to our actual specific incentive rates for projects. So SOMA is ultimately designed to fully offset the cost of the tenant portion of the system while still providing incentives for the common area as well. And SOMA's incentive rates will depend on whether additional funding sources like ITC or LIHTC, as you can see on this slide, it does differ depending on whether those credits have been leveraged for the property. And this chart does show the current incentive levels for the 2021 to 2022 program year. And as you can see, the tenant incentive rates for tenant portions of the system are higher than the common area portions. And that's just because of our emphasis and goal of having tenant benefits. So that's kind of how that works. And we do also require that at least 51% of the system is allocated to tenants. We do see for most of our projects that folks are exceeding that and doing more around 90%, which is great, but our only requirement is that 51% at least. And just to give some context too around kind of what the incentive, what that's really covering in terms of project costs, is that for most of our projects on average, majority of them are third-party owned, utilizing power purchase agreements. What we've seen with those is that the SOMA incentive is currently covering around 50% of project costs. And for the host customer owned systems, we're seeing more around 70% in terms of what the SOMA incentive can cover in comparison to project costs. So it just depends a little bit on the ownership type. If we could just go back for one moment. Perfect, thank you. It's also important to note, just wanted to flag that the SOMA incentive rates in the past have been required to step down on an annual basis every July by no more than 5%. And that's just something that is a requirement of the program and is in the decision that implemented SOMA. However, the team right now has submitted a proposal for modification, or a PFM as we call it, to the CPUC to actually halt that incentive step down and to adjust incentive levels back to what they were in year one. So back in 2019 when we launched to bring it up to those rates. Until these rates are actually determined and that's all finalized, I do highly recommend just signing up for our email list to stay in the loop with any programmatic updates. That's kind of the channel that we'll be using to announce to everybody once those rates are set. And we'll have it on our website as well. Next slide, please. So let's review the application process and some timelines here. So first, for a little bit of context, we do have 2 application tracks that you can enroll in based on your project readiness. So track A here allocates 3 months of technical assistance before submitting the reservation request. And I'll go into some more specifics on kind of what those services are that are offered through our technical assistance services on the next slide. But track B starts with the reservation request submittal, which is that first step in the application process. And reservation request really just means, that's just what we call that first application milestone. We do require about, I believe it's 8 documents to ultimately to have our team confirm property eligibility, because as you saw on that earlier slide, we do have some robust criteria for checking for that property's eligibility. And then from there, the application will move through these various milestones on this graphic here. We do have an energy efficiency milestone, proof of project milestone, which is essentially a contract submittal, incentive claim, and then the property does go through an inspection, and then the incentive payment at the end of this process. I also did want to add too, we launched an alternate payment pathway back in 2020 during COVID to really address some issues that folks were having with financials. And so this alternate payment pathway is called the progress payment pathway. It's missing on this graphic, so apologies there, but this 2 payment structure pays 60% of the total approved incentive upon proof of install. And then the remaining of the total improved incentive is paid once the PV system has received PTO from the utility and after approval of that final incentive claim milestone by our team. So just making sure that all the documents are in. And then in terms of timelines for both of these, both of the application tracks have 18 months from the time that that reservation request is approved to submit the incentive claim package. So going into our technical assistance and support services a little bit, we do understand that not every developer has had experience with solar PV and is maybe not as familiar. So this is why we do offer a variety of free, comprehensive technical assistance and support services to help everybody throughout the project lifecycle and provide support. So our technical assistance and support services can assist with a variety of things. They do a lot, but conducting a solar feasibility assessment, providing financial technical assistance, tenant education training, which is a requirement of the program, as well as contractor bidding. And these services are designed to just make going solar as easy as possible for participants and really provide that support along the way. Let's take a quick look at the status of our current projects. I always think this is cool to see kind of the distribution of where our projects are. So we currently have over 400 active applications. I think it's more like 430 or so throughout the state, and over 700 job training opportunities. We do have application data available on the link on the bottom of this slide. It's a public data set that's available for download with more specifics on application data, some more of the nitty gritty, and that gets updated on this site every Monday. So if you want to check that out, the link is there. Next slide. And kind of looking at the long-term projected impacts over the course of the program's lifespan, we anticipate that it could impact 3,500 properties, 250,000 households, and create job training opportunities for up to 3,000 job trainees, which is great. So the map on this slide is actually showing an eligible properties map that we have. It contains affordable housing data throughout the state, and it's an interactive map that we have on our website as well. So definitely a good tool to use. And slight caveat that it's likely eligible data. We do still have to go through that application process and verify that the property is good to go. So if you are interested in submitting an application with the SOMA program, you can visit the apply page on our website. That's on the left-hand side here. We have the login link to Power Clerk, which is an online application database, and that's how we track all the documents and that sort of thing. So if you're ready for that, there's the link for that. And if you're not quite ready to submit, but you'd like to maybe speak with someone from our team, I've included contact info for myself and a colleague, Rachel Diaz, and we both work with property owners and are happy to walk through any more program info. It's hard to fit it into a small amount of time, so happy to give more detail and even review your property or portfolio for eligibility and do a little bit of a screening. So that's everything I have for the SOMA program here, and I'll pass it back to Tyler, I think, for Q&A at this point.
Thank you, Margie. So we do want to honor your time. We're at time, so we won't do a formal Q&A. But if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If there are lingering questions, feel free to put them in the chat. What we're going to do is send you a question and answer transcript. So any questions that you put into the chat that you have, we will provide the answers for you and send it to you with our post-event package. We would like to thank our partners again for making this webinar possible. And if you do have any questions or any you want any information about any of our programs, please feel free to contact me. On the next slide, my contact information is tbrown@mcecleanenergy.org, or you can reach out to info@mcecleanenergy.org. Again, a copy of the slide deck as well as a recording of this presentation will be available to contact any of our partners directly. Thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you for the great questions. That's awesome.